Happy New Comic Book Day, geeks, and welcome to issue 73 of the Script Heroes podcast. I'm Katie.
And I'm Joseph, and today we're going to be talking about Batman 159, Justice League Unlimited number 6, Amazing Spider-Man issue 2, Bug Wars issue 3, Minor Arcana issue 6, and Arcana Royale issue 1.
That's right. Hit subscribe to add our show to your pull list, and let's jump right into Batman.
Man 159, the second issue of Hatoosh. The writer of this book is Jeff Loeb of course, Batman Hush, Superman Batman, and Hulk. The pencils are Jim Lee of Batman Hush, X-Men, and Wildcats. The inks are Scott Williams of Batman Hush, X-Men, and Wildcats. The colorist is Alex Sinclair, and the letter is Richard Starkings. Of course, this is the exact same creative team as the original Hush, which we talked about last time. It's a cool get back. But we talked about issue 1, which was honestly just a very probing issue. Well, it didn't do much. We get a lot more, I think, in this issue of what this book is maybe gonna be. How did you feel about that, Katie?
So I'm going to start by saying, I love Batman Hush. If you want to hear me and Jay gush all about it, shameless plug, there's a link somewhere to listen to our full review of the original Batman Hush storyline. Behind me, literally every single episode, is a statue of Batman from Batman Hush. I love Hush. I am disappointed in this book. Like, I was cautious in the previous issue. I'm like, maybe they're doing something. Let him cook a little. I feel like it doesn't feel like the same book. Like one of the things that we talked about being so good with what they did with Hush was the way that they had Batman interact with everyone. And I think that this book loses so much of that groundwork. Like, this doesn't feel like a definitive Batman and Jason interaction, or like a definitive Batman Leslie Tompkins relationship. It feels so much like the way that I felt throughout like this entire issue was that I was looking through a window watching everything happen. Like, I wasn't in the room with them. It felt like it was so distanced from itself. I think a big part of that is also that Batman's like, oh, this is the game that Hush is playing. And it's like, no, we've seen what it looks like when Hush is playing these games. And it's so cool. And it's so like dynamic and interesting. And it keeps you guessing. And with this, I feel like we're so far removed from what makes Hush like a really good mystery book and what makes it a really good Batman book, which means we're left with just, I mean, good Jim Lee art. I won't say his best stuff. He's been out of the game for however long. I still think that Hush is truly him at the top of his game, and I know that that's a little bit of a hot take. But it's everything feels just a little uncanny to me when I'm reading it. So like, it feels like it should be right. It looks like Batman Hush. It's got all of the pieces where I'm like, oh sweet, this thing that I really like is here again, but I don't like it particularly. Which is a lot to say about an issue 2. There's room to grow for sure, but
I think I don't disagree with anything you said, but I think I'm still more in the like tentative camp because it's an issue 2, and I don't think it was bad in any sense. I thought it was just kind of unexciting and uninteresting. Sounds so mean to say about a form of entertainment. It's I will say the one thing I lightly will push back on is I thought the Batman Leslie interaction was actually pretty solid. It was the one interaction in this book. I didn't like the captioning of his like explanation of things with Leslie. That I thought was heavy-handed and rough. But I thought the actual interaction of them once they were in the room together was pretty good. I like that.
I hear you. I feel like I didn't like it on the page. I didn't like the actual dialogue. Like, there's a really piece of clunky Batman dialogue that I'm pulling from the Dome that's like, I knew that you only care about saving lives, even his. And it felt so like, one, that's such a bad sentence to write. In my opinion, the I knew you only care about saving lives is like a little ugly to me. And then two, it was so, they didn't feel like people who cared about each other. Which is weird because
That's
they have
fair.
it framed with Leslie like finding him after his parents are
Yeah,
dead.
yeah.
But I'm sorry, you keep rocking.
No, you're good. I think that's fair. I have a couple. One, I always hate the like hero not just not killing villain, but like going out of their
Out of their
way
way
to
to
like
save him.
difficultly saving that. Like, just let him die. Like, you can let him die. Like, that's not on you. Like, I think it's going too far, especially for Batman, who I feel like typically his reasoning for not killing is due to like his own trust of himself to like be that person, to be judge, jury, and executioner. If he didn't do it, it doesn't make sense with his motivation for why he doesn't kill. It's not. He's usually not an all life is precious person. That's
Right.
more of like a maybe a Superman or a more light-hearted hero type person. Batman usually isn't that kind of not killing. He's not a every person's life has value. I think Batman would actually tell you the Joker's life has absolutely no value. Um, but yeah, so I don't like that. And that being like our big setup framing in this issue, it is rough for me. Not a huge fan of that. And then the other thing I'm gonna hit on, I think, what is maybe my least favorite thing before I go to the big thing,
Hmm.
which is I think the Babs Dick scene was just awful.
Yeah.
Like, it
Agreed.
added nothing to the book. They did not actually do anything. They did not actually add anything, and their dialogue was really rough
So,
because it was like meant to make you imply what they already knew and what was going on, but it didn't actually progress anything. It was bad. I thought that scene was just utterly pointless in this book and really, really bad. Now let's get to one of my absolute favorite characters coming in the book. We get a big Red Hood thing here. I will say, Jim Lee is still in his bag drawing Red Hood.
dude, especially that one
Holy
panel
shit.
where he's holding the gun up like this. Oh, I
Yeah,
saw that and I
Jim.
was like, that's Jim Lee right there.
Yeah,
Mwah.
yeah. We talked about it where like Jim Lee only got to draw, like fake Red Hood for a little bit in Hush, but just instantly phenomenal. Fantastic here having him draw actual Jason Red Hood. Uh, so good. But besides that, it's a very weird encounter. One, because Jason has such inconsistent characterization that like you could argue this is 2 steps backwards for him, or you could argue it's a step forward for him
Yeah.
because he's like kind of moving back toward. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm going to say that it is certainly teased that Red Hood might be positioned once more as a like Batman antagonist
Yeah.
rather than as a family member. I don't hate that. I don't love the way they're going about it. So yeah, I think that whole interaction felt very rough. Like you said, the dialogue in that one was rough. It did not feel like Bruce and Jason talking. There was a lot of like them feeling the need to like explain things that happened in other books or like explain why they're still here
Hmm.
based on things in other books. So there were a lot of lines about like, I know this thing that happened in this issue that nobody would ever actually say out loud, but I just want you to know that I know that, and I'm not doing this in spite of that. So yeah, that being like, I think that's the meat of this issue. I don't know how long the Leslie thing actually is. Maybe that's
Hmm.
not actually the meat of this issue, but I think that's the meat of this issue. And it didn't really land outside of the Jim Lee art in it being just utterly
Yes.
phenomenal. And that
Oh
being,
yeah.
I think the best part about this book was getting Jim Lee to illustrate a Batman Red Hood fight. Like, I think that's the
Absolutely. Like tackling him into the Batmobile.
yeah.
Gorgeous.
I will also say just again. Glad I got to see Jim Lee draw it. Can we stop cracking Red Hood's helmet in literally every single fight he's in? Like, it's the Invincible thing in a book that's not like Invincible. Like, it's done a little bit tongue in cheek that Invincible's like suit is destroyed in literally every fight. But like, why does Red Hood get that treatment in like his more grounded
And I
stories?
like that they actually try to justify it a little bit, like Bruce has to make sure it's actually him. But the thing is, with the Clayface impersonation, it wasn't Jason's face that threw him off.
And the funny thing is, Batman even says before that, like, he's actually fighting like himself. So it's like, so you've already proven it because that's how you got it last time, was that he was fighting like Tim and not like Jason. And so you were like, clearly it's not him. And then this time you're like, oh, he's fighting like Jason, but I still have to prove it's Jason.
So let me shoot him in the face.
Oh,
Don't worry, it only grazed him though, and that's why it knocked off the part of his mask that was over his eye.
yeah. So that, I think this was a rough issue. but I'm not ready to say that the book is like, because like I don't know quite what the book wants to be yet,
Hmm.
and I feel like 2 issues in we should. Don't get me wrong, that's definitely a bit of a knock,
Yeah,
but I think depending on where it's going, maybe it'll end up being a more cohesive whole. But yeah, I don't know.
it obviously could be, yeah, for sure. And I am still excited to read it. I do want to know what it does. At the very least, for that sweet, sweet Jim Lee art.
Yes.
Even though I will say there were a couple of ugly Batmans in there.
Yeah,
I'm just saying there were a
Batman
couple bad ones.
wasn't always perfect, and weirdly, I feel like I complimented last issue of his Joker being improved over the Hush Joker, which was the one
Hmm.
design I didn't like. I feel like we were back to an ugly Joker in this issue. Like I feel like he
Yeah,
was better in the first issue, and then I don't love the Joker in this issue. Weird Jim Lee thing. He really can't draw the Joker, despite being like
which
phenomenal in a lot of characters. Not a great
go
Joker
off,
artist.
Jim Lee. Don't be able to draw the Joker. I support that. You're too high class for the Joker.
Um, why don't you let us know your thoughts so far on Hush 2? Do you think it's living up to the predecessor? How do you feel about it, just as its own book? Is it an interesting, Batman book? Do you like it more than Zdarsky's run, if you were reading
Yeah.
that before?
And
But
bonus question, how do you feel about there being more Bat family members involved in this one? We saw kind of episodic adventures with sidekicks and friends in Hush 1. How do you feel about it seeming like they're more interwoven in this one? Let us know in the comments
yeah.
below. But for now, it's time to get unlimited with the Justice League. Justice League Unlimited number 6. This is coming to us from writer Mark Waid of JLA, World's Finest, and Shazam, with a co-plot credit given to Christopher Cantwell for this issue, possibly this whole event. The artist is Travis Moore of Nightwing, Wonder Woman, and Fables. The colorist is Tamara Bonvillian, and the letter is Dave Sharp. Jay, Justice League Unlimited hasn't been our favorite thing, but we quite liked the World's Finest tie-in to kick this event off. So we're
And the issue before this,
yeah.
you remember, I said was a step in the
Yes,
right
yes, 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 yes.
direction.
The one where they were in space fighting. Good
Yeah.
times.
So, yes, good times. So, I'm gonna start with the like in my opinion, the big thing here.
Mhm.
This is a much more focused issue. We are not
Incredibly
following
focused.
18 million Justice League characters like we have been across this series for,
Mhm.
not ideal reasons. We get an actual focus here on Gorilla Grodd and on Airwave. Finally, Airwave gets a little bit of backstory because I think we talked about the fact that this is a new Airwave, which
Yes.
was,
Not
I think,
Hal
not
Jordan's
clear. I think it
nephew.
was clear in Ed because this mentions Absolute Power, so I'm sure Absolute
Mhm.
Power had made that clear.
Yeah.
But we didn't read Absolute Power, so that was not clear to us that this was a new Airwave. But we get backstory for Airwave. We get a lot of Gorilla Grodd, legwork explaining how he got here, how he got powers. It ties back to the Martian Manhunter thing,
Mhm.
which is
Which I
great.
liked a lot.
Yeah, I like that a ton. I thought that was really, really rad. It brings in why we get why the cliffhanger of the last, Justice League Unlimited issue of the old Legion of Doom,
Yeah.
why it's that classic Legion of Doom. So all of that, I think, really, really worked. My big thing, I guess not big thing, I don't think this needed a whole issue. Like, it feels like a little bit of extending something that didn't quite need to be this long. Um, that being said, it was still entertaining
Yeah.
and I think fun and overall pretty well done. Overall, it's better when we focus on characters and we focus
Yes.
on one thing instead of jumping all around. So another, I think, step in the right direction. So far, this event definitely has me intrigued.
Yeah, same. I think that they did in the same way that the World's Finest issue felt like a good, just contained issue, even though it's part of an event. I think this is also one that felt very contained. It explains a lot of stuff that has happened and has been happening, but it isn't like super reliant on that. It doesn't feel like it's wrapping any of that up in any way. It just stands on its own in a way that I think, like you said, makes for a fun reading experience. My big gripe with it was Airwave's already a character that I'm not super familiar with, and I feel like the way that they characterized him being manipulated by Grodd was like a little unconvincing. We talked about with the World's Finest issue that we just read last week about how it felt like it leaned into a little bit of kind of like a Silver Age campy vibe, and I feel like this one a little bit did as well with the manipulation of Airwave. And I think that while that works with a flashback book, like a book set in the past, like World's Finest, I think that it is a little more disorienting, a little less believable in a book that's like, no, this is happening in like current timeline. Like he was told that the Justice League is evil, and after like two lies where Gorilla Grodd specifically says he doesn't use his psychic powers or Martian Manhunter's psychic powers. He doesn't use either of them to manipulate Airwave. And for some reason, Airwave just fully turncoats and becomes like the perfect spy. Like nobody ever suspects Airwave. I feel like they give him a motivation that could make him like very angry with the Justice League, but that's not characterization that he gets to have. And he also like immediately fesses up to it when he realizes that it's something happened. And like, bro, I feel like we got no personality for Airwave in a book or in an issue.
He's very like vanilla superhero in a
Yeah.
very like not great way. I don't know if like I don't want to spoil the big thing.
Hmm.
I don't know if that is, I don't know if we're gonna see Airwave be like somebody important to the D because it feels like
Yeah.
Mark Waid wants him to be somebody important to the DC universe, and I don't know why. Because
Me
if
either.
it's like he likes Mark Waid likes a bunch of old characters and stuff, you think he would go with the existing like why did he want to create a new Airwave and make him important? Like I
Yeah.
don't quite get that. But I digress. Not super important.
Yeah.
Um,
I will say the thing that you alluded to
yeah,
is something that I want to touch on in vagueness, so don't worry, no spoilers. I really
yes.
liked the dialogue interaction that led into that thing. I thought that was
I
really
like that
clean
moment in
and
general a lot.
really like good supervillainy. And the moment
I
itself is
will
also good.
also say because I don't think it's happens with it, but I think I can address it in a
Sure.
non-spoilery way. I greatly dislike that this book, in my opinion, seems to have not cared about the Titans book in the fact that it uses Donna and Beast Boy in a Justice League segment, which I don't think works based on the characterization and the story we've been getting in Titans, based on their
Hmm.
feelings toward the Justice League situation and like them operating on their own. I feel like this was a little bit of I don't really care what's going on in Titans. I'm just going to use them because I want to use them.
Yeah.
And because they were completely unimportant for the moment, it feels like it was something the editorial should have sat there and been like, don't put these characters in, replace them with two other characters because
Hmm.
it doesn't actually matter, and it just hurts what's going
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
So
No, I hear
small
that.
thing, but I
Mhm.
dislike that it happened.
And I think that it's a small thing, but it's also something that we were worried about when the whole Justice League Unlimited thing
Something that I
started.
point blank asked, not specifically with Justice League, but I point blank asked
John Layman.
John Layman. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I
Click
John
a
Layman
link
about
somewhere to see our interview with him about
Yeah,
Titans.
in our interview with him, I asked actually I both asked him about writing Titans in this point where they're part of the Justice League book, and we asked him about if he was talking to the Nightwing
Yeah.
team for Dick Grayson, and he told us like no, unless you're friends with the people, you don't really talk directly to the other creatives. It's editorial's job to keep you informed on what's going on in the other books. So editorial should have caught this.
Yeah.
My personal opinion.
I fully agree with you. But how are you liking Justice League Unlimited? Do you think that this event is kind of justifying its existence? It's a bit of a small event. Uh, and how do you feel about an event that's pretty much written by one person across multiple books? Because this is like Mark Waid's event here. We obviously have Christopher Cantwell.
No, I guess some of the Absolute Power tie-ins were not written
Yeah.
by Mike Wade. That's my bad. I retract my statement. It was fully incorrect.
Yeah, but it seems that this streak of like 4 books, I think it is going to be like
5,
5 books, is going to be all
right?
Mark
Because
Waid.
it's 2 months of these plus the annual for World's Finest.
Right, yeah. Which is interesting. That's not normally how events super duper go.
No,
Uh,
I will say It's nice that there's not a specific event title.
Uh, there is. I guess it's just the plot title.
No, I
We are
meant
yes.
not a specific like
Oh, I understand. A
book.
specific book.
I
Yeah,
was
it's
using
not.
title to refer to
Yes,
book as
yes,
it
yes, yes, yes,
sometimes
yes.
is. There's not a
Understood.
specific book that you pick up that
Yeah,
is We
we're
Are
not getting
Yesterday,
night terrors with We Are Yesterday. Though
Yeah.
I do think this is one where it might have been fun if they like fucked with the timeline in some way. It's like, let's look at these characters in the past. Just a little like world's finest
There's
smorgasbord.
like
I don't
I feel
think
like I
it
remember there's
spreads
something
wide
coming out.
enough
There's something.
to justify that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I love seeing Mark Waid write characters in the past of the DCU. But in any case, we have more books
Yes.
to talk about. Let's flip on over to
Please.
Marvel and talk about Amazing Spider-Man.
Amazing Spider-Man issue 2. The writer of this series is Joe Kelly of Deadpool, JLA, and X-Men. The artist is Pepe Larraz of Avengers, Star Wars, and X-Men. The colorist is Marty Garcia, and the letterer is Joe Carmagna. Katie, we fairly pleased with the first
Yeah,
issue outside of us maybe not being fully in tune with Peter's new supporting civilian
right. Yeah.
cast. Talk to me about issue 2.
Yeah, I really like the plot that's happening. I like that like Peter is poisoned and having these hallucinations. I think that the like the Parker luck, as it were. I think they make reference to that in the first issue. I think the Parker luck feels like it's here in full swing, pun intended. Uh, in like Peter cannot catch a break in his civilian life, which is on the one hand, it feels very like, haha, superhero. On the other hand, I do wish it was less of the issue. Peter just like flubbing in his regular life because we have this like kind of hallucination dream sequence interwoven with the issue that feels like it's trying to be like, oh yeah, and here's the Spider-Maning for the issue.
Yeah.
And we get one sequence where he doesn't really do Spider-Maning, like he's infiltrating kind of. And so I do feel like in the Spider-Man book, I would have liked Spider-Man to Spider-Man.
Really try not to have this, gripe in every single Spider-Man comic book she reviews on the
Okay, but
podcast.
like they keep just making him hang out as Peter Parker, and at least in Ultimate Spider-Man, I wasn't crushed by secondhand embarrassment. um, because like that's one of the things that's getting me with this Peter is because we're sitting with him so much while all of these bad things are happening, it like feels really anxiety inducing because I shouldn't feel higher stakes with Peter and his new job than I do with Peter being poisoned. Like I feel like the poison is like kind of even by Peter just brushed off where he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
well, my biology will fix it. Oh, I guess I might take a day of rest." But then there's like so many real raw emotions with him when he's like feeling embarrassed and anxious about his
Yeah.
job. And I'm like, I feel so worried about him and his professional life. And I
Yeah.
don't feel super worried about him in his Spider-Man life. I think there's a good stinger, pun intended, at the end of the issue to really get the wheels on the Spider-Mobile. Is that what he calls it? The wheels on the Spider-Mobile moving, so that we actually do get to see him. Like the Rhino fight from the first issue was really engaging and really exciting and felt like good Spider-Maning. And I wish that we had some, like just a crumb of Spider-Maning in this issue outside of those
Yeah.
hallucinations.
I'm gonna. I don't know if I'm necessarily pushing back or I'm just gonna hit it the side of
Sure.
the one thing I would say is that I really like that it's finally out of reading a ton of superhero books right now, a superhero book that actually does have a civilian life that isn't like overly plagued with other characters that are now also superheroes and everybody that knows
That's
his
so
identity.
fair.
Like it's become such a thing in modern comics that like the civilian identity, even for in DC where like all of the characters have the civilian identity, you spend like zero time with it, and it really like
Yeah.
just doesn't matter a lot of the time in modern superhero comics. So it's a bit of a breath of fresh air to see Peter like actually have a life that has stakes, and like you said, like you actually do kind of get invested in it. So that is, I think, super nice, which is maybe why I'm not as upset about the lack of Spider-Maning, because I feel like we have so much superhero stuff that I'm like, this is nice. This is a nice change of pace. I like this. What I agree with you on fully is that the non-civilian scenes, the Spider-Man scenes, were not well done in this issue. I did not like the hallucination plot line. I did not think it was well executed, and I thought the book was very jarring in like the switches and stuff in a way where I couldn't tell if I was supposed to be thrown off as much as Peter, or if I was getting confused about what was going on sometimes. Like, I think it could have been done a bit better so that we actually knew kind of what was going on a little bit more. Yeah, and I think that, like you said, they need. I wish I could buy. I wish that I was as invested in the Spider-Man stuff as I am in the civilian stuff. But I don't know that I necessarily agree with you that that's based on the space dedicated and not just so much the quality being done or
That's
like the
very
actual
fair.
story beats in the different sections. So I think I agree with you in like the way I came away enjoying parts, but not necessarily in the why I think it did.
Very valid. Very valid. But we're keeping with it. This is our first time reading Spider-Man ongoing, other than Ultimate Spider-Man. Mainline Spider-Man ongoing. So we'll see. We'll see how it continues to develop. But are you reading Spider-Man? How do you feel when Peter has that Parker luck and truly can never get ahead? Is it a cause of deep secondhand embarrassment for you as well? Or is it like relatable, quirky fun? It can be both, I suppose. Or do you prefer a book where you really focus on the Spider-Maning of it all, where you get to swing around and punch bad guys?
If you want a less nuanced question, you want to just yell at each other in the comments. Amazing Spider-Man or Ultimate Spider-Man, which is better? Yell at each
Ultimate Spider-Man.
other.
Anyway, next book is Bug Wars. Bug Wars, number 3. This is coming to us from writer Jason Aaron of Southern Bastards, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Absolute Superman. The artist is Mahub Assar of Conan the Barbarian, X-Men, and Batman and Robin. The colorist is Matt Wilson, and the letterer is Becca Carey. Jay, how you feeling about Bug Wars number 3? We have gone pretty feral for Bug Wars 1 and 2.
We have, yes. It's one of those great books that is so utterly insane but takes itself so seriously. Like, just one of my favorite combos. And it continues here. It's such a like, I love Jason Aaron's grandiose captioning and dialogue in this book. It is awesome. It makes you buy it. Like, I know you were, at least in the last issue, still like struggling with you just finding everything completely hilarious. I find myself like 5 pages in, I fully buy into this world so completely.
I stand by.
Yeah.
The thing that keeps taking me out of it is bugs with tits. Like, when they're showing the love bugs, the like bug prostitutes, that's where
The
it
love
gets
bugs
it
did
for
take
me.
me out. I was like, it actually took me out to the point that I was like, he's not actually having a child have sex with like adult like, please, Jason Aaron, like, you're gonna ruin this book by making it into like a pedophile thing.
Okay, and like, see, like that would be terrible. And like, I'm so glad it didn't happen. And like, Jason Aaron, please continue to not make it happen. But the fucking phrase, please don't make a child have sex with an adult bug, is just, it destroys me. It destroys me. Anyway.
Yes. That aside, this was a very good issue. We finally get more on the father, which was awesome. We get
The
a
gym.
really, really good build and like these different plot lines going on as Slade finally uses the amulet and then is revered by the Beatles as like his father's son. It was
Son of Jim.
Oh, so yeah, it was just his first name. I forgot about that.
Yep.
That was also very funny. The son of Jim was also hard not to find
What
very
got
funny.
me wasn't the son of Jim, it was that they kept referring to him as the Jim, and that was taking me out of it a little as well. That was a little too goofy. The Jim and Bugs with tits.
But yeah, while I was going on, you had like all the stuff going on with I can't remember the Spider Woman's name. She is absolutely my favorite like bug
She's so
character.
good.
So well developed. She actually gets like a lot in this issue that like gives you so much of her character. Loved it. She's phenomenal. Her design is phenomenal. I love everything about it. I love her interaction with the other like gladiators too, where they like kept being like, your spells, your spell,
Your
great,
spidery magics.
awesome. this was a fantastic issue. I really really loved issue 1, especially with it being double length.
Yeah.
But this might be the best issue so far. This was a
I
really
think
good
I would
issue.
agree with that. I think that it has a really good self-awareness as well. Like a lot of Slade's captions, they come from future Slade, and he
Yeah.
has a really good sense of like growth from those captions. Like it does feel like someone looking back on their
Love his like, this
origin.
is when you're expecting me to like put everything together. But no, I just died.
Yeah. It's so well done. I think that adult Slade is a character that I'm so excited to meet, or at least, semi grown up Slade.
Yeah, who
I
knows? This
also
could be like
think,
in 2 months from now.
yeah,
Slade.
in any case, grown up Slade.
Yeah.
Um, I also really like the weird tension between how, like you said, it's very easy to buy into this world. Like there are some things like bugs with tits that do pull you out of it a little bit. But for the most part, it's really easy to buy into this world, which makes it even more like tense when Slade is not just on board to be savior of bugs. Like, there is no part of him that's like, yes, I'll kill my brother for this bug. Like, there
He's
is,
fully trying to sneak away for like this entire issue.
yeah, and there's not a single part of him that's like, my brother who's an asshole who beat me up, who destroyed my bug collection that I value greatly. There's no part of him that's like, maybe they have a point and we should kill him. It does a really good job of, yes, having you buy into the bug world, but also making sure that you stay rooted in reality. Like, oh yeah, these are bugs. Slade is a real person. Sydney is a real person. And like, bugs is people. But
There's people, Katie. Don't they have a whole society? They have magic. We don't even have magic. They might actually be more sophisticated
the
than we are.
bugs have racism, which is insane. I guess more so tribalism. Uh, but it is very funny how hard they
Speciesism?
lean into it. Maybe, maybe. Um, yeah, I really like that as a character beat for Slade. That even though he is like number one bug lover, thank God, not literally. Uh, that I got myself with that one. He's still like, no, I'm not gonna fucking kill my brother because he's mowing the lawn. And I really love that aspect of it, and I'm really excited to see how the kind of like grow between works out, like with Slade moving between these worlds, how he is gonna navigate that. So I think that's super rad. I'm really excited to see where this book is going. It's so original. It's so we've said this about a number of books in the past. It's so comic book coded. Like this was meant
Yeah,
to be a comic book. Um, absolutely
yeah,
love it. Good times had by all.
great stuff.
Yeah. Are you reading Bug Wars? Are you distracted by any part of this world? Do you think that it does a good job of drawing you in and making you feel the stakes of the like, world of mites? Or are you reading it in more of a comedic way? Like Jay said, last issue I
More or
was a
less
little
bug
more,
sex.
yeah, more or less bug sex. Uh, to be clear, between bugs, because we're all on the same page that Slade should not
No,
fuck a bug.
I think that was heavily
I'm
heavily
just
understood.
I'm just making sure that we all understand that Slade should not fuck a bug.
No, no, no. We are very much talking about bugs fucking other bugs here,
Yes,
as all adults should be.
exactly.
I mean,
Anyway, we
talking about
have.
bugs fucking, not that all adults should be. Never mind.
Anyway, we're going to talk about Minor Arcana next. I don't love that it has the word minor in it right after this conversation. Let's go.
The next book is Minor Arcana, issue 6. The writer-artist of this series is Jeff Lemire of Sweet Tooth, Black Hammer, and Maze Book, and for the first time in the series, he now has a co-colorist in Patricio Del Pecci, and the letter is, as always, Steve Wands, at least until we get to
Yes.
the end of the Book of Wands.
Yes. Then, of course, it will become Steve Swords.
Yes.
We fucking love Minor Arcana. I know that we normally do a little lead in. It's been a while since we've gotten to read Minor Arcana. It went on hiatus for a couple months. I fucking love this book. I feel like, especially as we get deeper in, it had such a.
Grandfather that you've been asking for.
I love Grandpa. I love Grandpa. Um, he's so cool. Like we don't see a whole lot of him. We get like alluded clues to him. He's so cool every time I see him. Um, as we go deeper into this book, we get so much good depth out of Teresa. It's so great. Like we have her in this one interact with the child of the woman that she was in love with but ran away from, and it's so well done. Her entire like vibe in this issue shows such growth from issue
Yeah,
1.
it's a big character issue.
It really is. And the previous one, issue 5, I believe, was also a pretty big character issue. So it really feels like we earned her going from like a self-destructive uh drunk to where she is now. And I think that it was done so effectively that this both feels like a really good end point for Arc 1 Teresa, and with the way that she's like embracing the Arcana, such a good start point for Arc 2 Teresa. I feel like this is really a, a beautifully done, like, escalating character arc. Like, characters can grow, they can start at the bottom, and they can grow and get better, and you can still tell good stories as they grow once they've gone from the worst to pretty good. You can still climb that ladder to get them better and better and better. And we still see parts of her from who she used to be, especially when she interacts with her mom and like kind of when she
Those
interacts with
interactions are
herself.
so well written.
They're so
Jeez.
well written.
They
But what I
feel
want to
so
give
real in such an uncomfortable way.
truly heart wrenching and awkward and that same secondhand embarrassment feeling in all the best ways. I was about to say, but what I really want to give flowers to, but I just gave so many flowers to that already. But I want to give even more flowers to. There's a sequence in this as Teresa like taps into the Arcana,
This is
and
what I was
I
gonna.
am so excited to get more of that type of stuff where we see her like tapping into this supernatural element of things,
Yeah.
especially as she taps into it with like more control or more intention than we saw in Arc 1, but still with such mystery around it. Like, she does not have control over it. But she has more control than the people she's there with, and she's using that power that she has to help them. It's so I love this issue. This is my new favorite issue of My Hero Arcana, which is saying something, because I have loved every single
It's a
issue.
great issue.
Yeah.
Particularly that dream sequence with her ex's kid is
Yeah.
so phenomenally illustrated. Like it's so good.
I wonder if
Uh
that's where Del Peche's colors came in, because it was like a little stylistically different, not so much so that it did still seem like Jeff Lemire,
yeah.
but
It
it was
might have
meant to
been. It
look
was
different.
more the colors were more vibrant
Mhm.
than most of Lemire's.
I wonder if it's a
Art.
case of like I think Jeff Lemire does a lot of like traditional art. I wonder if Del Peche came in with like a lot of digital enhancement stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. Don't know the answer to it.
Me either.
But yeah, this was another great issue. But this is a really good like you said like endpoint for the character's first arc, but then kind of setting us up for what's going to come next because we know this is a long haul series, which is a nice thing to know. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where we go from here.
Absolutely. But how did you feel about the hiatus? Does that halt momentum for you? Or do you feel like you came back more excited than ever? Is it something that you think works with books? Or would you rather books just come out in a straight shot? Um, Let us know down below how you like to read your comics. But we have one
Yeah,
book
would you
left.
rather there be gaps in your book if you know?
Yeah.
Because that's the other option compared to if you'd rather them all come out around.
Here's the thing. No, what I'm saying is I actually liked the gap. I feel like it
Okay,
was a
no,
good
you're
gap.
weird. No, you're weird.
It was a planned gap, and it was a short gap. In any case, we have one more book to talk about. It's time for a brand new number one. Arcana Royale. Uh, on an evening where Jay is not in front of his poker signs, so we can all assume that we all like poker the same amount. Arcana Royale, number one. The writer here is Cullen Bunn of Sinestro, Magneto, and The Sixth Gun. The artist is A.C. Zamudio of The Sixth Gun, Valley of Death. The Remains and Shadow Roads. The colorist is Bill Crabtree, and the letterer is Josh Reed. J. Cullen Bunn.
Colin Bunn.
Dark Magic. Poker. You like those things.
I do like those things.
Those people
So
and
this
things.
was
Sorry, Cullen
certainly
Bunn.
up
You're
my
a people.
up my alley. But yeah, I think this is one of those books. And I'm gonna couch this in a second. But this is one of
Oh.
those books where we kind of I say we because it's often we. I don't know if you're gonna agree yet, but where we end up saying like it's a book that heavily survives on vibes. Like that's how I felt about this first issue, where it was one that I was like, a lot of what was great about this first issue was the vibe and the tone, because
Mm-hmm.
that came across so strongly from this issue, along with the art just being phenomenal. In my opinion, I really
Really
really like
good.
the art in this issue. Um, my like, I guess hesitancy on this is that I don't know that it did enough to actually like give me an indication of either who the character is or what the plot is. Like both
Mm-hmm.
of those are kind of up in the air, as is actually even how this game works. And I never really like that, where it feels like it's just gonna be a game that we never really know how it works, and it's gonna just be like, oh, it's whatever it needs to be for the
Mm-hmm.
plot here. Like I don't even, it's not even just the way that the game works. It's like I also want to know like how what their betting works, because they mention that it's like tied to their lives, but I don't understand that because they still get mad about money in the end. So like what
Yeah.
are they actually betting when they say like I put in 2, I put in 6? Like what is that? I want to know that at least. If I don't get to know the rules of the game, I at least want to know what they're betting. But yeah, so I think it's hard to work out exactly a lot of the important factors of like who this character is, what the plot is, what the game is. But it does have a really strong presence and tone in this
Mm-hmm.
first issue, so you can maybe write it off as like intentional mystery, but I think it's on that border. And it's a book that I'll say I definitely would not be willing to give the benefit of the doubt if I didn't trust the creator. I
Mm-hmm.
do trust this creator, so maybe I'm going to give it a little bit more runway than I give other books.
Yeah, no, I think that that's a really spot on observation. I think that specifically with Hudson, our main character, she's really easy to understand, not because she's like feels like she uses shortcuts to like get us to quick understanding, but because she just feels very single dimensional. Um which is not great for your main character, especially like a savant main character. Like you're saying with the rules of the game and the currency of the game, what gets me is I don't understand why she's good at the game. And that's kind of part that I was very much like, I want to know what makes Hudson special, right? Like why did these people seek her out to join this game? Um so I do think that it was a little bit lacking on the details, but I really do think that it wasn't even just the vibes. I think that it was so much Zamudio's art that really carried it through. Like the way that the card game is illustrated, the way that everyone is illustrated sitting around the table and engaging in this, I feel like is so rife with like tension and personality, even if you don't really get to see that personality uh coming out through the dialogue or the actions of the characters. Um
Yeah,
I do find myself a little worried about the expanded cast. I'm hoping that it's going to be pretty tight on Hudson and she'll kind of do her own thing. Um, so I'm a little worried if it becomes an ensemble book where it's like a group of mortals against the devil or something. Um,
it it feels to me like it's more set up to be her book than
I hope
a
so. Yeah.
ensemble. But yeah, I wish she was a little more fleshed out. It's wild, like
Hmm.
because we're coming off Jump Scare, which is
Right.
such a three dimensional and well built across
Hmm.
just that
Another
first issue.
Cullen
But now
Bunn
we've got
book,
two
to be
issues.
clear.
Yeah, yeah. By Cullen Bunn, like we know he can do that type of a character. So this character
Yeah.
feeling so single dimensional in this issue is a little rough, because Cullen Bunn
Yeah.
is usually a very good character writer. He's usually a very good dialogue writer. He's usually
Hmm.
very good at communicating characters. So I'm hopeful that that will improve as the series goes on. But we've also only got 4 issues here, so
Yeah. But I
needs
do
to
think
happen
that
fast.
that does mean that if if his concept is strong enough and with the really good art that he has with Zamudio, I think that even if we don't get that character, if the plot of the 3 issues is engaging enough, that's still going to be a really successful story.
I just think we need one or the other. Either the
Yeah,
character or the plot needs to pick up starting in issue 2, because you
for
can only
sure.
get away on vibes, I think, for one issue, and
Agreed.
then you kind of have to put up or shut up.
Is that a little bit of a poker joke?
No, I
No,
think,
is that boxing?
yeah, I think that's boxing.
Darn. I was like, oh, maybe you have to put up your ante. Um, I don't
No,
know much about poker. Uh,
yeah,
do you,
evidently.
dear listener? Let us know in the comments down below. How do you feel about books that are vibe first, substance second? And where do you think that line is where you can get away with coasting on vibes? Because there's some books out there that are really good vibe books. Like we were just talking about Arcana, Minor Arcana. Fucking Jeff Lemire, the king of vibes. Uh,
It's true.
yeah. So let us know what you think when it comes to books that lean into that side of things. And while you're doing that, have a listen because we have a whole slew of things to hit you with. We have a couple
Yes, that's
bonus
true.
episodes that are locked and loaded and ready to shoot for you. Jay, what do we have up on the channel right now?
So yeah, we just uploaded our Batman versus Superman fight tier list video.
Yes,
You guys love the tier list. This one is all of the Batman Superman fights across comic books, and we ranked them based on how good of fights we thought they were.
yeah.
So that was a big vibes tier list.
Importantly, not by who won, because Jay and I
No,
could not stop disagreeing.
which I think makes for an entertaining video. Check it out. But we also broke down the brand new Superman special, for Superman Summer Special, rather, from DC
Yes.
Comics, which is a preview of all the things coming in the summer for Superman across his 3 titles that will be coming out across the summer. So you should be certainly checking that video out if you're interested to find out maybe what you want to pick up in the future for Superman. We cover everything that happens in
Absolutely.
that issue and the books that are going to be coming out. So I think that's worth your time.
And if you want to just zone out and look at absolutely gorgeous Jorge Jimenez art, we do a flip through of the issue, so you can
It's
just enjoy
phenomenal.
the
PR.
beautiful, beautiful art.
Yeah.
Um,
But we have our normally scheduled video coming next Wednesday. Why don't you tell Katie the ridiculously long 8 books we're going to be reviewing for next week's episode?
my bad. So we are reading Batman and Superman World's Finest Annual #1. Is it #1?
Yeah.
Oh, it's been going for so many years. They've just never had an annual.
But
But in
I
any
mean,
case,
the
it's the
annuals are always annuals are almost always
oh
either
shit,
number
you're right, because
one
it'll
or
be
the
like
year.
Batman Superman 2025 annual #1.
Yeah, it might be the 2025 annual instead of number one.
Yeah. In any
It's certainly
case,
not number 2.
yeah. In any case, that's the tie-in.
2025 annual number 1. It's both number 1 and the year.
Yes. This is the tie-in issue to the We Are Tomorrow arc that we've been covering with Batman and Superman World's Finest, and as you might have heard earlier this episode with Justice League Unlimited, we're also going to be talking about Batman: The Long Last Halloween #7. We're going to be talking about Crush Depth #2 from friends of the pod, DB Andrew and Tim Daniel. We'll be talking about Frankenstein. What's the rest of the title of that?
The Sea of Forever
The Sea of
issue
Forever,
3. Yeah.
#3. We'll also be jumping back into Pod Fave Ultimate Spider-Man with #16. Void Rivals, another Pod Fave, with issue 18. A surprising hit from last month. We're taking everyone down with us. #2. That was the one with those sick robots.
Gotta
Love the
love a
sick
good
robots.
robot.
Yeah. And to contrast sick robots, we have some sick fantasy with Lost Fantasy #1, a new #1 from Image. But we also have another bonus episode for you coming down the
Yes,
line.
we
Jay,
do.
what's that bad boy
Yeah.
gonna be?
So it's Free Comic Book Day this coming Saturday. So we're gonna be doing a Free Comic Book Day bonus episode. I can't tell you, exactly what we'll be reviewing from that because it very much depends on what me and Katie are able to get our hands on and what
Yes.
we decide we want to talk about. But a lot of the big titles, some of the new stuff, maybe that you might be interested in checking out. I'm hoping we can get our hands on the Red 5 Free Comic Book Day issue, so we can talk about friend of the pod Dakota Brown's
Yes,
upcoming book. So,
absolutely.
yeah, but that'll be fun. We'll talk about a bunch of Free Comic Book Day issues, and
Yeah,
yeah,
if you're a
you should
longtime
check that
listener
out.
to the podcast, this will be the payoff for all of those weeks during the news segment where Jay would make me guess Free Comic Book Day titles.
That's true. That's true. And I think we did. I don't know if it was a bonus episode, but I think we did Free Comic Book Day, some of the
We
Free Comic Book
did.
Day issues last year. So
It was
yeah.
not a bonus episode. We just did them
Oh,
all.
we tortured the people.
Yes. But that's all we got for you tonight.
Yeah, but as always, we hope to see you next week, Comic Geeks.